Hey everyone, promised more content. I've run out of, I shouldn't say run out of, completed everything that I've got done. I'm just waiting for guys to pick up a couple of their saws. So I got a little breather in between the bathroom project and doing some saw work. Yeah, that bathroom project, that was all plumbing, all electrical, flooring, everything. Almost done. Right now I'm in the middle of getting a coat of some mud on the outside wall where I had to move a door. So I took that opportunity, especially since the wife she's gone to the women's retreat for the weekend. So I got a few moments here in between mud drying before I do some texturing, and thought I'd do a little video. Now this is a saw that I've had for quite a while. I've done a little bit of work to it, but there's some things that I want to do differently. So we're going to tear it down. We're going to get another piston back in it. I'm running an aftermarket piston in it right now, and unfortunately I just don't trust the piston that I have in there. So I've got an actual OEM 395 piston. 395 piston will go right into 394, and we're going to get this thing up and going. Going to do some, this is an early, just a dual port muffler that I did. It works great, but there's something I want to try on this bigger saw that I've been doing on some saws. It's kind of unique. It's a blend of what's out there, but I like there's some cool exhausts out there, but I think a lot of these exhausts that are being built, they're more art than they are really function. I like keeping it, for some strange reason, I'm weird that way, stock looking muffler. So everything I do is internal, and this is going to be a little trial and error on this one. We're going to see how the exhaust works, but so here we go. Let's get this bar off of here. And, I do get my aerobics exercise going up and down, getting tools out of my toolbox, but I've had this toolbox set up this way for about 40 years. I have a hard time with change. But yeah, this saw here is probably 20 to 22 years old, somewhere in there. It was a basket case when I got it. Pieced it back together. Been using it for my own, getting firewood. I don't get as much firewood as I used to, simply because in the house I switched over to pellets and a heat pump. So the pellet stove has been relegated to just backup in case something goes wrong. Which, where I live, for some strange reason, that seems to be the case. There's always something going wrong with the power out here. But anyway, I still get firewood. I heat my shop with it, which is starting to cool off now. I've got some firewood put away, but gonna have to go get some more. A buddy of mine has got a little property, and he knows I like to cut wood. It's a great deal of I don't know, for me it's fun getting firewood. It's hard work, absolutely, but it's a lot of fun because I get to go out and I get to test the saws that I have, the work that I've done. I do test everything that I do, and that's the best way to do it. I do not have a dyno, which some people do. I think that's awesome. I've always wanted one. Right now, my next purchase is going to be a lathe, because I still work, and so all the machining I do, I take to my work, and I do at my lunch or after work. I like to be able to do that at home. And wouldn't we all, right? Fully self-sufficient. This is not too dirty. Not too dirty at all. It's probably one of the biggest complaints of working on other people's saws. And I mean, I'm not talking about here at home, but customers, retail customers, they don't take very good care of their saws. Most people don't. I'm not going to name any names, but I let them know. It's like, would your dad be pleased with the way you take care of this? I mean, saws are a big investment. And it wasn't until I got older that I could actually afford new saws, or newer saws. For the first time in my life, I actually bought a brand new saw last year. First time in my life. And I cringed. Ugh. I've been milling these slabs out. I've made several things, and it's benches made out of slab that I've cut out. But I had an old, this one did a lot of slabbing for me. I've got a 2100 that I did quite a bit of mill work with. And I also, because of this project, this bathroom project, it's like, I'm going to need a ton of wood for that. Because I'm using it as a veneer on all the walls, door frames, linen closet, and all that, kind of getting that cabin look or rustic look into the bathroom. That was what my wife wanted. So, I had to pool my money together and sell some saws and stuff. Finally came up with the money and bought myself a 3120. Yeah, I mean, it does a good job. It's got plenty of torque for that. There's more to be had. I'm gonna run it for a while before I get too excited about trying to eke a little more out of it. Obviously, anything I do it's going to be pretty mild, because I want the dependability over performance. Anyway, so this is actually pretty dirty for me. I didn't clean it before I put it away last time. But that's probably the main part of the work that I do here in the shop, is when I'm doing a complete rebuild. There's hours involved in cleaning the saws up, cleaning up all the parts. I think his old philosophy is taught to me when I was a young man. Clean equipment runs better. It's just like anything else. The saw's happy, it's going to work better. If your mule's happy, it's going to work harder. Oh my goodness. Shop classes got a little filthy. I didn't used to need these stupid things. Now I do go bar oil on there. I think that's bar oil. That's better. Not great, but better. Alright, I like getting the handlebar and everything out of the way. Go ahead and take this off. Oh, mama, that one's on there. Oh, I always cringe. Let me get some juice on that. That's all it needed. A little sauce on there. Oh yeah. It's always easier to loosen this. Loosen this bad boy up a little bit. Get pry it over. There we go. Shoot, that looks good. Still looking good. Piston still looks brand new. I just don't. Whoa. Don't like it. Go ahead and get. I don't need to take that off, but I'm going to, because it's one less thing in my way. Come on. Oh, this one doesn't fit in there. That's right. This little tool here has been ground down some times. Doesn't want to reach too much. I keep telling myself I need to get a new one, but I haven't done it yet. Oh yeah, Take the choke off. Okay. Get that up. All up out of there. Well, it's been a while since I've had this one apart. It's almost like I forgot how. There we go. The auto cable off of there. There we go. Dumb. That's what I was trying to do, get that out of there. All right. I mean, probably not thought all that exciting, but that's right. That's not long enough. I forgot. On these big saws, my long ones just aren't long enough. That's not fitting. Great googly moogly. Let's just get that girl out of the way before I break that. Take this baffle out of here. Before I break it. What size? I swear it's that size right there. Whoops. Oh, that's right. I need this here. Find the hole. There you go. At the time that I put this together last time, I was a little desperate and short of funding. That's why I went with that aftermarket piston. I needed to get some work done. And so that's what you get. You get what you can get. It's one of the reasons why I went away from this milling. I just didn't, like I said, I just didn't trust that aftermarket piston. There's some good ones out there, I know. I'm not going to tell you what's in there, but it was a low budget. You know, just for giggles, I'm going to go ahead and take this off because I'm going to want to check that gasket anyway. Yeah, I'm going to need this bad boy here. Well, no, I'm going to wait. So I can get this cylinder off there. Now I use Honda Bond, Yama Bond is what I use. Picked that up when I was in working in the bike shops. That stuff was absolutely fantastic. Working on snowmobiles and watercraft and motorcycles, where a lot of those engine cases, they don't run gaskets. You know, they just a little bit of the sealer. As a matter of fact, I had an old. All these out of there. I did. She's just being a bear cat. I had an old. That's supposed to say. I had an old Triumph Bonneville, heavily modified. Had the what was it? I think it was Rao was the outfit that made that. The 750. There we go. She's gonna come loose now. 750 top end, put on that little Bonneville. Had the obviously racing cams. I think I had the Megacycle cams in that one. Big cams. Had the head reworked. But when I first got it together, I used all the gaskets. All gaskets, all their fancy O-rings and everything. First time out to the racetrack, that thing would get hot, and that thing leaked oil everywhere. Well, you can see a little heat on that skirt side, the exhaust side skirt. I don't know if you can see that, a little heat on it. You can see there's a pop-up piston. I didn't do any milling or anything on the cylinder to get my squish, so I just put a pop-up on it. And it ran good. I mean, it's a good running saw. But anyway, I ran that Triumph and it puked oil everywhere. Just, yeah, those old Triumphs. The original was the cases, I think, on it, because I built that Triumph from scratch. The cases were 78, so there's a lot of metric on it. Most of it was early 70s, late 60s parts, piecing that thing together, because when I put that together, there wasn't a whole lot available. You had to scrounge through junkyards and whatnot to find the parts, but anyway, it leaked oil all over the place. I was working at a Yamaha bike shop at the time, and I went home and took that motor out, which is a Bearcat, took it all apart again, and I put it back together with Yamabond, and that's probably the first time in that bike's life that it never leaked oil again. Well, it would weep oil because the castings were so terrible that the aluminum would actually weep oil through the porous casting. It's crazy. But as far as all the gasket mating surfaces, the only thing that was Triumph in there was the head gasket and those little white O-rings on the pushrod tubes. Yeah, that was fastest running Triumph around here. Everyone told me it wasn't going to work. The cams that I put in it, boy, were they wrong. They misjudged my theory. Kind of wish I still had that old bike. I modified the frame as well. I copied what was that? It was the go-on frame at the time. So Trackmaster? I think it was Trackmaster frame. So yeah, I made that stock Triumph frame. Had to redo the swing arm and everything. Copied the Trackmaster frame. It was all said and done. I had about 200 hours into the frame on that thing, and it was all said and done. The guy that was helping me out getting this Triumph together, he had a Trackmaster frame, and he was doing a frame up over the winter in between race seasons, and so he had his naked frame there, the Trackmaster frame, which I copied, and had my Triumph modified frame, and we weighed them, and my frame was actually 4 pounds less because it wasn't nickel plated. So yeah, it was a fun bike. But yeah, non-leaker. I was just checking the lower rod bearing. It was good when I put it together. I take it to both sides. If you've worked on saws before, basically the reason I take it to the side is because I can use the crank weight to help stabilize the rod as I'm checking, because you can get, if you wiggle it this way, you'll get play, but that's not what you're looking for. Radial play. So you hold it to one side and you push and pull and you see if you can feel anything, and then you take it to the other side and do the same thing. And I'll usually rotate it a few times and check it again, just because. And this one's tight as a tick, still good. Sometimes you can tell. I'm gonna get some light in there. Sometimes you can tell. A lot of times, some of these saws, you work on them, and you can look at the color of the cage. Will be a good indicator. If the edge of the cage is a darker color, and then you've got that dull aluminum on the inside, then that's telling you that there may be some wear in there. And what you're having is the cage is contacting the actual rod because it's loose enough to do so. And of course, well, it's not touching on the outer edge because your rod's running typically in the center. And one of the things about putting these together is I haven't heard anyone on the internet talk about it. They'll show you pulling, a crank into the case and showing you how cool they do it. But I've never seen anyone check. This is going back to the 70s, and when everyone was rebuilding everything, you didn't throw stuff away, you rebuilt it. So we did a lot of cranks. We always measured the distance between the crank weights and the case. And you want that to be the same. That way your rod, in theory, is running in the center of your crank journal. Is it life and death? Nope, it's not. Because, back in the day, there's a lot of loggers and woodcutters that were doing their own saw work, and they would use a hammer and pound things together, and their saws, they'd get through a season. But we always did it that way. We always centered the crankshaft because there is room in there. Some of the newer saws, they actually have, there actually be play because the cranks aren't really tight in the crank bearings. So the crank can move back and forth. Some of your older saws, the Homelights and McCullochs, that ran needle bearings on the crank. Those had side play, so we would actually shim those to keep those from moving around too much. I was a pretty happy guy when my dad, who happened to own the shop that I grew up in, started doing all this work. He decided to get away from McCulloch and Homelight, and I was pretty happy. I hated working on those stupid Mini Max and Power Max, and those freaking Homelights where you had to pull the whole motor just to get to the carb to do a carb job. I don't know if you're not familiar with those, you're lucky. Anyway, so that's that. We're going to call it a day. So I've got some cleaning to do. And then probably in the next video, I'm going to take off what I've put on here. And I'm going to show you what I do. We're going to split this muffler in half. And we're going to rework the inside of that. A lot of guys, a lot of these mufflers you buy aftermarket, these dual port mufflers and everything, they're just an open can. And it does increase the performance because they've got these things choked down. One trying to meet emissions, another trying to meet sound emissions. So it's exhaust emissions and sound emissions they're trying to meet with these mufflers. There's all kinds of crazy rules. So many of this can be made, so you can make so many of that. The bigger saws typically they're a little more free to be dirty in both categories, because if you sell enough of these residentials that are just choked down, you're given a little leeway, just like in the automotive industry. You can build so many clean ones, you're allowed to build so many dirty ones. But even in these big saws with these open cans, there's a lot of horsepower that could be made by the internal workings in the muffler that these guys are accomplishing with these, I call them exotic exhaust systems. When I'm done with these mufflers, they will be louder than stock, but they won't have that raspy bite on there. And I've always hated that about all two strokes. There's sounding good, and then there's just loud, that bark. If you like just loud and raspy and you want to irritate your neighbors when you're out cutting up your wood, great, good for you. To each his own, right? But I like the stuff to look stock and run great. And I'll show you what I do here. I've done it on this 570 I've got hanging up here. It was actually a 575. The guy brought it to me, said it was a 575. The sticker on it says 575. The serial plate says 575. But somewhere in its life, someone had dropped the 570 top end on it. So at least it was all Husky parts. He likes 75 to 80 cc saws. That's why he had that saw. He didn't know someone had done that. But I advised him I would stick with the 570 top end because at least it was Husky. The only thing that I could find available for the 575 at this point in time was aftermarket stuff. And some of it's good, but anyway. So he said it was a dog from brand new. So I told him I'd look at it. And so I ported it. And then I modded the exhaust. I probably got 20 hours into the exhaust. But I'm telling you what a difference. Because the porting I did, I do work porting, woods porting. Durability is more important than absolute maximum horsepower. I have some of those maximum horsepower saws that, they're fun. They're a lot of fun. They're fun to take out, a weekend warrior stuff. But the guys that I'm working on their saws are making a living with it. Or they're very serious woodcutters that are, getting quite a bit of wood every year, going out into the woods and doing the full processing. So, matter of fact, it's hanging right here. this little guy right here. As you can see, it says 575, tag says 575. It's got a 570 top end on it. But you can see the muffler basically looks stock. It looks a little bit different because if you look at this muffler, you can see the sleeves there do protrude out. This did as well, but taking this muffler apart, I had to kind of build that up a little bit because I had to split that muffler. So on the outside, the muffler looks pretty stock, but it does not run like a stock muffler. This thing for a 68cc saw is just a beast, particularly compared to the way it was. There we go. I pulled. They really had that choked down, trying to meet emissions and meeting sound restrictions. They had a baffle plate in the middle with a very small tube in between the two halves of the mufflers. That came out, and that's what where most guys stop. But I run an internal pipe, and yeah, you'll see what I do when I get that far. Anyway, I'm going to keep rambling on. I'm going to stop now. I hope you enjoyed this part, and I look forward to seeing you. I look forward to seeing you next time when everything's cleaned up and we start putting things back together, and then start working on that muffler. Till then.